Today we're here at Carbon Off-Road headquarters. As promised, Dan the Man's going to put some shockers in my 2018 Holden Colorado. I'm actually planning a trip to go around Australia and he's got some shocks for me. But we have to do a few measurements first, Dan.
Yeah, Barry, so I can see your car's looking pretty stock at the moment, mate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to take this around Australia with the stock suspension, it's quite likely that you'd end up in the middle of nowhere somewhere and have a shock blowout, or the car would not handle very well through corrugations because the factory shocks are really not designed to handle heavy off-road conditions. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put a set of preload adjustable or height adjustable coilovers in your front end, and we're also going to replace the rear shocks. So that'll provide a really nice balanced platform for you all round. The front end, we're actually going to lift the front end a little bit today. So that will give you a little bit more ground clearance, which is good for off-road, just in case you come across any rocks or that sort of thing. But also provide a little bit better handling. So when we lift the front end, it'll actually get your vehicle at a ride height position that allows for a nice even amount of compression and droop travel from that ride height position.
Should we hop into it?
Yeah, mate, let's get into it.
Dan, as you mentioned, it's pretty important to measure before you actually fit some shocks. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, so when we fit a set of shocks, it's really good idea just to get a baseline ride height measurement so we know where we're starting off from. So our aim is to get a bit of a level platform here. So we need to know where we're starting to work out how much preload we're going to put on the strut when we fit it. And yeah, that's basically it. So, so what we do is we generally measure from the center of the hub up to the guard. And we're looking at 510 mil there today. So basically that's a factory standard lift height that we know of for the Colorado. So our aim is to basically get it up to probably around sort of 540 or 550 today. So around 40 mil lift we'll aim for. We will measure all four corners and record that. And because each strut is preload adjustable, the good benefit is if there is just for whatever reason, sometimes there's slight variations in vehicles. One side might be 5 mil down, and that could be also due to the leaf springs at the back actually affects the front. So say if the driver's side leaf spring was sitting a little bit higher, it could push the passenger side front down a little bit too.
So Dan, we've done our measurements, and what we've seen is the driver's side is 10 mil higher than the off-driver's side. Is that something usual?
Yeah, look, Barry, it's probably something we actually see quite a lot on a lot of vehicles. We tend to find that the driver's side can be set a little bit higher. So that is definitely something we can take into consideration today when we're fitting the coilovers and make some adjustments for that or compensation for that. And even actually set our coilovers in a similar manner. So it does take into consideration, a fella like yourself, is sitting in the vehicle all the time. So with the additional load on the driver's side, when it's actually out on the road, it will sit level, basically.
So that was my next question. We're going to set it up as it is in factory with 10 mil higher this side, because obviously the driver, the steering column, all the brake boosters and cylinders, there's quite a bit of weight.
We probably won't set it up exactly 10 mil higher. And the reason we do that is because the coil springs that we're fitting onto the front of the vehicle today are actually an increased spring rate. So when you sit into the vehicle won't compress as much as it would with the factory coil. We'll probably aim for maybe about 5 mil difference.
5 mil, So in front of us, we've got the shocker unassembled. We're going to assemble that and talk a little bit about it before we put it in the car. But important to note, there's two options in terms of springs and what they're about. What am I going to be running in my car?
Yeah, so Barry, we've actually gone ahead and engineered and designed our own coil spring range for our shocks. So there's two different options of spring that we offer for our shocks. One is a spring rate that is a little bit lighter duty, and it's designed for a vehicle like yours, which we don't have any front accessories above a standard vehicle. So it'll provide a nice ride quality, get the lift that we need, but it won't be bone jarring on road. It won't be a very harsh ride on road. So we also have a heavier duty spring, and that's designed for vehicles with steel bull bars, winches, dual batteries.
So it's great to have options. I certainly don't have all those accessories, so this is the spring for me. What do we do next?
So obviously this is our strut. We've got our two adjustable collars here. So the bottom collar there, that's our locking collar. And the top collar here is our collar that our coil seat sits on. So this is our own design engineered coil seat for our coils. So basically that goes over the top of the strut and sits onto the adjustable collar there. So we'll be able to, when we measure up the spring to get it ready to fit onto the strut, we'll work out roughly what preload setting we need for this. So we'll preload the spring in the spring compressor and then fit the strut onto the spring, and then also assemble it with the strut mount, the top mount there.
So then we've got the rough measurements of what the spring needs to be. Is it as simple as dummying the shocker together and just measuring between the 2 points of contact?
Pretty much, Barry. Basically, before we sort of take it over to the spring compressor and fit the strut up, we can basically adjust the collar position to get it to the preloaded length of the coil, and basically that'll just mean that we don't need to do too much mucking around with the adjustment while the coil is fitted and under tension. So pretty much we're going to get our coil, we're going to put about 50 mil of preload on this. So that measurement is roughly about 260 odd there. So we just basically wind this up. So we want to go just a little bit over because that bush on the top will be compressed once everything's together. So about around sort of 10 mil we allow for compression there. And then we'll just bring that lock nut up to that position, and we'll do the final sort of locking of this collar while it's on the spring compressor.
So we obviously done our 4-point measurement, and what you were telling me is we can measure this on bench and we'll actually get it 99% when we put it in the car, rather than laying under it trying to get it the height's all right.
Yeah, look, we can actually have a really good educated guess and do some calculations on how much preload we can put on this spring to get the lift that we need on that vehicle. So today, with the coil that we've got in there at its rate, we're going to preload this coil around 50 mil, and that should get us pretty close to where we need to be ride height wise on your vehicle.
So we've got the spring in the spring compressor nice and safely. By memory, the measurement was 260 we needed to get the right ride height we need for once it's in the car. So should we go a little bit past that?
Yeah, let's just compress the spring a little bit past that, and that'll just allow us to get everything on finger tight.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. So we've already fitted the bottom washer for the bottom bush. So all we need to do is just drop that on like that, and then we just need the top bush and the top washer. That's it, and the nut. All right, that's looking pretty good. So we can start easing off that tension now. So one of the last things that we need to do, Barry, just before we go too much further, is this strut top actually needs to be in the correct bolt pattern for the top mount in relationship to the bottom mount.
Yeah, okay.
So what we need to do is just, you can see that the bottom bush is pretty straight there. So we just need to get this top mount twisted a little bit. So it's probably easier to turn the bottom. So this is commonly known as timing the strut top, just to make sure it's going to line up once we get it in the
get it in the vehicle there. So it's looking pretty good there, mate.
I'll wipe that off.
Yep. So yeah, well, one last thing. We've got to just check the alignment of the strut top in relationship to the coil.
Yep.
So
Make
just
sure it's
the
seated
manual
in properly.
alignment, Yeah, just make sure it's sitting there properly on the mount. It's looking pretty good to
It's looking
me.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Move these little legs out.
Now it's ready to fit up. Can't wait to get them in.